Now, y'all know we got to keep it all the way tall over here. That's the only way. And man, I'ma just be real. AllStar JR is done. He's done. AllStar JR is cooked. And the reason why I say this is because this entire time, the speculation has been around whether or not he will get a self-defense claim and whether or not, the robbery and the alleged robbery or whatever you want to call it and all of that stuff will factor in. A lot of people were wondering, how did he get charged? What is it that led to him being charged federally with the firearm? Especially because he wasn't originally charged with the shooting. But we about to get into all this, and it's crazy. I'm going to keep it real. Now, just yesterday, the government filed its response to JR's motion to revoke the judge's order. So the judge had entered an order saying that JR couldn't get bond, and his lawyer filed a motion to revoke that order. He didn't want JR sitting in jail waiting for court, waiting for trial. Well, the government has responded, and what they did was they laid out pretty much their entire case. On April 17th, 2026, Magistrate Judge Yvonne Ho found probable cause to issue a criminal complaint charging defendant with felon possession of a firearm in violation of 18 USC 922G and 924A. Those are two charges that you never want to see, especially, in this situation. But you never want to see the feds anyway, but you never want to see the feds with those two charges. That's a fact. Anyway, on April 27, 2026, a detention hearing was held before Judge Kimberly Altman in the Eastern District of Michigan, where the defendant was represented by Arthur Wise, retained counsel. The government proffered the facts and circumstances, stating on April 8th, and introduced further confessions surveillance videotape. On April 8th, defendant and a female companion were inside confessions. They finished a meal. They walked toward a bank of elevators. The defendant then returned to the dining room alone and appeared to be talking on his phone. I think he might have saw them coming and was trying to call somebody like, hey, they trying to get on me. They had some words, a struggle ensued. The gun drops. He picks up the gun. He starts shooting. Now, this is where it gets tricky. You know what I'm saying? Because, okay, you were involved in a fight with these two guys and you shot them. But you also shot a third person who was not involved in any kind of way. You then fled the scene. He grabbed his car keys from the valet hook and fled in a white Cadillac Escalade. Now, I told y'all from the beginning that was his worst mistake. Shooting them people was crazy, but leaving the scene was crazier. That kind of like destroyed his self-defense claim. They talk about the injuries that people, received, and the victim 3, a completely innocent bystander, was shot in the buttocks. They said that he tried to conceal, if not destroy, physical evidence by wiping down a gun. He did not call the police, but contacted the owner of the Escalade to tell him that the police may be looking for him. This is all stuff that they says, look, when he got to Michigan, he didn't contact law enforcement. These are all things that they say, shows that he was trying to get away and avoid detection, obstructing of justice. He then calls out the names of his victims and offers people $20,000 to go and troll them. You know what I'm saying? And made a video confessing, and y'all know the story, man. But all of this is why they are saying that he should not be released. On the flip side of that, I'm looking at it like now he pretty much knows the angle that they are going to take in this situation. I believe that the government is going to argue that that's his gun. Because if you notice, in none of these documents, they keep saying a gun fell. Right? But they also say it was JR and it was two other guys. So they haven't specifically identified who dropped the gun, but they never said they dropped the gun. You see what I'm saying? So I believe the government, because they cannot determine who dropped it, if they cannot determine, I believe that they are going to come in and say it was his all along and that he dropped it and picked it back up. And one of the things that I think they're going to try to use to support that argument is the fact that when the gun dropped, nobody else went for it. You see, like, the courtroom is tricky. It's about facts. It's about, statements and all of that shit. But it's also about inferences. There are several circumstances that allow you to infer certain things. And one of the inferences I think that they are going to try to push in this trial is the fact that it had to be JR's gun because nobody else even went for it when the gun dropped. How, if one of these guys dropped a gun and they were actually trying to hurt him, then they would have dropped down and grabbed the gun. I ain't saying this is my life. I'm saying this is what I see them pushing. And the reason why is because after reading this document and seeing how they've laid this argument out, and basically, he committed the crime, then he fled the scene. Then he told somebody else, the owner of the truck, hey, you might want to hide your truck. They're going to be looking for you. Then he went to Michigan. He never contacted the police, said, hey, I think I shot somebody or I shot some people. Somebody tried to rob me. And the reason, listen, this is why Ben10 was never charged. Because the police can say, well, it looked like a robbery. We think it was a robbery. There was a robbery. His chain was taken. They can say that all day. If this dude don't say that he got robbed, then it's very, very possible they could have just been taking their own shit back. Maybe he took something from them and they was taking it back. Maybe they was trying to grab him by the shirt and the chain just got snatched. It's so many different ways that it can be looked at. But the important part is he never contacted police and reported a robbery, an attempted robbery. He never contacted the police and reported a shooting or attempted shooting or none of that. And so they don't like this is why these dudes weren't charged. It's really that simple. They couldn't hit them with a robbery because he never reported one. Had he stayed on the scene and said, hey, man, some dudes tried to rob me. I ain't know who they was, but I shot them. Open and shut. Case closed. In these same documents, it said that Houston had stated that they were declining to charge him. And I think that the change of heart was motivated by the fact that the feds got involved. But listen, y'all, if you ever find yourself in this situation, do not flee. I know it's scary. I know how crazy it may seem, but do not flee. If you find yourself in a situation where, especially if it's not your gun, all of this shit is going to support their argument that it was his gun all along. He wiped his prints down and all. Like, why would you do that? If these niggas, if it was they gun and they was trying to rob you and they dropped it, you picked it up and shot, I'm absolutely not wiping that motherfucker down because it's possible that one of their fingerprints might be on it. So if the feds come pick this shit up and try to say it was mine and I had it all along and I shot somebody, well, now I can show how, if it was mine and I had it and I dropped it and picked it up, how the hell did his prints get on it? How did his DNA get on it? Because your hands sweat, so you can leave DNA on a gun and like, you see what I'm saying? But by wiping it down, you just erased all of that. So as much as people feel like JR is getting the bad end of the stick, the short end of the stick, he kind of made this bad for himself. He put himself in this situation because he had the perfect opportunity. Bro, where I'm from, we call these freebies. This is a freebie. This is a free one. He had a free two. You ain't even had like the wild shooting into the crowd and shit is kind of understandable because these guys running. You don't know if they running to get to some or if they got it and they just trying to get enough space to pull it. So I won't condemn you for that. But you should have got the job done, and then you should have stayed your ass there and called 911 and let it play out, bro. But y'all know it is what it is. I just wanted to bring y'all this update. I got the documents in here just in case you want to read them yourself. But in my opinion, J.R. Cook, man, he might as well go ahead, go in there, tell them to give him a 10 for the gun, see if he can get Houston to run that 10, Texas to run that 10 concurrent, and go ahead and get this shit over with, man. Don't even. One thing about the feds, though, they don't take a long time to take. You ain't gonna be sitting in the feds 5, 6, 7 years waiting to go to trial. You know, so it's crazy, but unless a miracle pops up, like unless they DNA test this weapon and that shit come back not here, you know, it come back that the DNA is belonged to one of those other guys, meaning that they could have had the weapon too, he fucked. That's it. That's all. With that said, I'm going to wrap this one up. Y'all already know what it is. Hit that hype button before you get up out of here. Hit that like button before you get up out of here, man. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that YouTube stuff.